Hello, everyone, and welcome to another session with us, Dr. Heidi Lescanec and Elena, health coach.
Hello.
Hi, guys. Today, we're going to be doing something a little bit different, and we're going to be chatting about some books that have been very impactful for Heidi and Elena. And I'm super excited to hear about these good reads and add them to my list.
Yeah, so I'll get started with my book, and the book this is my favorite book in the world, and it's called Where Good Ideas Come From, The Natural History of Innovation by Stephen Johnson. And this book is very special to me, and I strongly believe that everyone should read it every couple of years. Stephen Johnson discusses the 7 key patterns behind genuine innovation and traces them all across time and disciplines. This book opened up an entire realm of possibility for me. It helped me to see the world in a completely different way than the way that I grew up thinking the world was about. Pretty much it helped me to look at the world like a curious child would. And so here's a quick quote from it. Good ideas are not conjured out of thin air. They are built out of a collection of existing parts, the composition of which expands and occasionally contracts over time. Some of those parts are conceptual, ways of solving problems or new definitions of what constitutes a problem in the first place. Some of them are literally mechanical parts. So basically, when you are acquiring knowledge about any subject, and then using that knowledge to build something, a career, a thing, a process, you want better health for yourself, anything like that. Usually we put ourselves in this expert box and we build a ceiling on our own lives. So we focus only on that one area that we think is the only place we can find the creative pieces or solutions to what we are trying to achieve. This book clearly demonstrates with examples from a world's awesome history of innovation that, yeah, it is cool and everything to be an expert. And of course, it is beneficial to know as much as you can know about a subject. But that's just the beginning. To create something amazing, innovative, and useful, you've got to expand into interacting and learning not only, from other disciplines, but also from other people that have different opinions, perspectives, and they see the world in a different way than you do. So when you open your mind and you expand the world in this way, it's like you put more parts on the table with which to work with to create whatever you want. And I feel like this completely and utterly applies to health, because in my experience coaching people, I feel like the people that are the most successful at achieving certain levels of optimal health are the ones who are willing to keep learning and expanding beyond what they think it means to get healthy.
Awesome.
Wow, that sounds like a really good read.
It is. I mean, this book, it's about the history of innovation, but it's so much more than that. Like it applies to, I use the concepts in this book in every single area of my life. And I feel like when he touches on the point that the biggest inventors of all time, the most, even Einstein and all these guys that we so look to see, wow, these guys created amazing things. They had a little notebook with them all the time, so they could write down insights that came from different areas. So if they're working in physics, yeah, that's fine, but maybe they noticed something in music. A lot of these guys were musicians, right? And how can I apply this? How can I use this concept parallel to physics and fit it in here? So it's super important to connect the dots with other areas, not just the area that you're actually working on. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I really emphasize with my clients and also patients is the importance of having a mind that's open to at least learning about some things that, well, maybe you don't believe in it, and maybe you will never ever take action on it, but at least you can listen to it and see if it fits somewhere, Yeah.
It sounds great. It sounds like something that would really stimulate a lot of curiosity, expose you to like you're saying, ideas and ways of thinking that you wouldn't normally try on. So I think it's always expansive to read a book like that, So I'm really curious. I'd like to check it out.
Yeah, it's really great. And also, it's good to, it's not about, when you're doing anything, I think it's not about who is right or who knows the most. It's how useful can you be with this information that you're getting, right? So it doesn't matter who is right, who is not, but like, can you put it all together in a useful way that's going to improve your life? Yeah. Yeah. So in a way, so connecting this to what we're going through right now with COVID, this is a great opportunity. It's a great time to really look at different possibilities of expansion. So this thing is happening, which we have no control over. I mean, more or less, whether or not it's so, but there are so many possibilities opening up with this, right? So what kind of other parts can we put on the table right now to create something even more amazing, to have an even better life than what we used to have? Because, I mean, who's to know that the life you had is better than the life you're going to have now after COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, a word that's being used a lot is pivot. I'm just hearing that so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I do think that's that idea of, considering other possibilities or other ways of thinking or having a different perspective is what we're all being asked to do. Whether it's through job losses or different identity, people often do really strongly identify with their work world as who they are, what they do. And so with many people having shifts in that, I think there's a lot of rethinking and re-examining what's important.
That's so true. It's like a shift, right? So I think all the moving parts stopped. So now, okay, I don't have this, so I'm not my job. I'm not this, I'm not that, but who am I then now, right? I'm me. Yeah, I think that's really great.
Well, it's a good segue into my book, actually. Yeah, so my book is called, it's called Bouncing Forward. It's Transforming Bad Breaks into Breakthroughs, and it's by Michaela Haas. And she's a PhD and was a journalist for many, many years and a longtime practicing Buddhist. And she came across a very traumatic event in her own life, which prompted her to then do some interviews of really remarkable people who had gone through extremely traumatic experiences, and to investigate, like, how is it that they emerged on the other side of the trauma, a different person.
Right.
We often hear of post-traumatic stress, like, Vietnam War vets and people who've gone through, accidents and what we think of as very unusual or extreme traumas. But the fact of life is most of us will go through some sort of trauma, in this one life we have, whether it's a loss of a relationship, like going through a divorce or death of a loved one, or even a pet, illness.
Even like the loss of who you used to be, right? Like maybe like a change in who you are.
Like we're talking about, like job loss can also be a real, a traumatic experience for people. And so what she really looks at in this book is how the majority of people who go through a trauma, of course, eventually find ways to survive and heal. But not only that, they actually can thrive by experiencing a unique kind of growth that happens because of the trauma. So things like more empathy, like a different level of emotional maturity, and
literally bouncing forward, right?
Yeah, like a renewed sense of life that emerges, not despite the painful experience, but in fact, because of the painful experience. So she combines a lot of insights from spirituality, from science, like really amazing amounts of information that she integrates with these stories. But basically, it's interviewing people, and they have really moving stories. And I'll just give you some of the examples. There's this famous jazz guitarist named Coco Schumann who survived Auschwitz, and so he talks about how playing music is what helped him survive, because he had that skill set and it also brought him joy. But he talks about all the different ways that being engaged in that is what got him through. And she also interviews, this was my favorite one, this flight surgeon, her name's Decorum, and she was in a helicopter during the one of the first the Persian Gulf War. And she was in a helicopter, and she's a surgeon, she's going out to like go do some work, and her helicopter gets struck down, and her arms get broken. She becomes a POW in a camp, and eventually returns home, and she designs a training program for soldiers on developing resiliency through things like self-regulation, mindfulness, positive coping strategies. So she's able to do something with her experience, which is really progressive for the military.
Got goosebumps, because how useful is that going to be?
Yeah, and just someone who you would think, I mean, not only did she have broken bones, but you would have thought her spirit would be broken, and not to say she just suppressed it all and just moved on. Of course, she went through, a need to heal.
Did she lose her limbs?
No, she didn't.
No? Okay.
No, they were just broken, but just broken. Helicopter crash.
Yeah, just broken.
Another favorite person that she interviews and has a good segment on is the American civil rights icon Maya Angelou. And she has an incredible life story. She survived pretty severe childhood abuse, and she was actually didn't speak. She was a mute for almost 5 years of her childhood.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And then she went on to live a life, really remarkable life, but she endured a lot of violence and discrimination in the U.S. And loss. But she went on to be a famous author, actress. She wrote this biography that I read a while ago that I just loved. It's called I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings.
Is that good? I've never read it, but I really want to. It's on my list.
Yeah. So all these people, I mean, they live very remarkable, fulfilled, and inspired lives. And she shares the techniques that they used to benefit from the hardships and the setbacks. And they share like those realities of what it was to go through the experience, but also how they emerged. And I think that's just what's really, really inspiring, is to know that, people can go through these things, just like we're going through some forms of grief right now over the losses of freedom or, identity, or just all the ways that we were living our life before this, COVID time, whatever shape or form it's taking. For some, it's more dramatic than others. But I just think it provides a lot of like encouragement for now, to know that that there is another side to the pain and the difficulty and the challenges.
Wow. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, this kind of sounds like the kind of book that you would read it several times. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
how many times have you read it? Once?
Yeah. No, yeah. I read it a number, like some time ago. And then I read it again recently, because I feel like it really is relevant for now. And it also made me think of like a couple other things that I've been hearing about recently. Do you know Viktor Frankl? Have you ever read?
Yes, I know him, but I never read anything by him.
I think a lot of people are, he's popular now. His books are popular. Man's Search for Meaning, and he developed logotherapy, and he also was an Auschwitz survivor, and he wrote about how the primary purpose of life for humans is a quest for meaning, and how that is how you can survive many things, is finding the meaning underneath it. And this is also, have you heard of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who wrote like the Stages of Grief? She co-wrote another book by a fellow who experienced the death of his son after writing this book about grief with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. His name's David Kessler. And he added to their stages of grief. He added the last one, the sixth stage, being finding meaning. And it's post-traumatic growth, which is the very, the title of this book, basically. So I'm just finding that there's lots of intersections right now of this concept. So I think like universally, there is some understanding of the importance of digging deeper, and it made me kind of wonder about is this a time where, when we go back to our regular lives, will we have all these insights and these gifts that have come out of the challenge? Because I know when my life is going tickety-boo, I'm not really that inspired to dig all that deep. Like, I might want to learn about myself and have some peace, but it's a lot of work sometimes to dig into these histories of ours, or do this personal growth. And when
you're not ready at the time to, it's like you're not ready to incorporate these things, right? It's different.
Oh, and also when there's all kinds of great distractions, like joining up with friends for happy hour, or, going to a movie out, like when there's all those things, like, would you really want to stay inside and dig into some of these heavy topics and issues? And what I mean?
Probably not. Yeah.
We were just talking about this yesterday. I was just saying to Elena, I feel like, because we were talking about these books and doing this video, and I was like, I haven't read any of those books. And for me, I just feel like personally, like you just said, it's work to dig into yourself and actually read the book and then kind of parallel it with your life. What are you taking back from this book, right?
And then apply it,
and how is that going to play out in my life? What if it turns up something that I don't want to touch or go into, right? And I think we all kind of have that grief factor going on, and I think we all want to be better and do better, but like you said, it's work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I think to me that is one of the silver linings of this time, of being cut off of those regular distractions, like even going to the gym. Like, I love going swimming, and I can't do that. So I think so there's a lot of things I could have grievances about, and I surely do, and things I'm so excited about getting back to. But the flip side of it is that I think this time does provide us with the opportunity to develop new ways, new tools, new insights that come out of this digging deeper, so that we don't just bounce back to the regular ways we've done things, but hopefully we bounce forward, the book.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to happen in so many levels, and especially at the very basic level, right?
Yeah.
Because just going to the mall, it's like, wow, I miss going to the mall and walking around.
Oh my God, yes.
right? And just, let's go for a coffee somewhere in person, not Zoom.
Yeah.
Right? So all these little things, you really appreciate them. Yeah.
One of my friends, she works at a mall out in Edmonton, and she's working part-time fulfilling online orders for the store. And she just sent a Snapchat and videoed the empty mall. And I was like, I didn't know how much I missed the mall. I didn't even know I missed it. And I just got so nostalgic and oh my God, I missed the mall.
Yeah.
You never know. Yeah.
Totally. And even at work, right? Seeing everybody at the clinic together. I mean, these are so precious. And now we're going to really appreciate them.
Well, Elena, Heidi, I want your guys' copy of those books, because I'm going to read them. So I'm going to borrow them from you guys. Definitely. I always like to read used books. It's like someone else's experience is in that book, Do you guys ever feel like that?
I do.
Yeah. Yeah, I love reading used books. When I was younger, my mom used to take me to the library sales. The library used to put on sales where they sold old books for 50
They even have a certain smell to them, right?
Yeah, that smell.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's all for today's video, and I hope you guys really enjoyed this conversation about different reads that we have going on in our lives. So I'm excited to add these to my list and borrow those books from you guys, but I think our video is coming to an end. I always hate this time.
Me too. It's so fun.
We can always talk and talk and talk and talk.
Totally. Absolutely.
All right, guys, I will put the information for those 2 books in our description below, so you guys can check them out and have the titles to all those books. And I'll put all our information in the description box below. Otherwise, we'll be signing off for today.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Bye, guys.